I ain't even gonna clean this up. I have to start hiring people for this. If your front brakes start to squeak like mine are, be sure to spray some chain lube on your brake pads. I'm just kidding, don't do that. All right, what is up, dudes and that one dudette that watches my channel? Hi, Mom. Today, I'm gonna be doing something highly requested. So this is gonna be some groundbreaking stuff here, all right? It can be groundbreaking. The ground is gonna break. And as the title suggests, it is what you clicked on, the KTM maintenance video. Sorry about my phone. So yeah, guys, basically I'm gonna be going over all the maintenance, showing you some of the basic maintenance, and getting into a little more of the detailed maintenance, I would say. It's still nothing too hard. I'm not going to be rebuilding the motor or anything. I will be doing a valve check, and I've actually got a list here of everything I'm going to be going over in this video. So I'm going to have to chop in this clip. Parts did not show up for this as I expected today. So is what I'm going to do is I actually got a list here of everything I'm going to be doing in this video. I'm going to go ahead and read off this list really quick, and you can check the description right now for everything on this list and a timestamp in this video of when it's gonna happen. This actually lets me format the video a little bit better for those of you who are here for information. To finish off the introduction, I'm gonna read off what's on my list. We've got an oil change, oil filter change, air filter, clean and change. I'll show you how to clean it. Spark plug, lube the chain, check brake pads, valve check coolant, wrap up in a tortilla and pretend I'm a burrito. How did that get on here? That wasn't supposed to be on here. Alright, first things first, we're going to start off pretty basic and then we're going to move more towards advanced things like the valve check. But starting things out, we're going to do the oil change and oil filter change. You do not need your tank off for this. I have it off to do my other maintenance. Some things that you're going to need: oil, obviously, oil filter. You're going to want a flexible funnel like this. You can honestly use about anything, but I'll leave the link to this in the description. I honestly really like this. It's nice and flexible. You'll see why we need that here in a little bit. You're gonna need a 13mm to get your oil bolts off, an 8mm to get your oil filter bolts off, needle nose, and some brake clean or any kind of contact cleaner. First things first, ideally you want to do this whenever you'll let the bike warm up and idle. Since I'm doing other maintenance, I'm not going to worry about that. It's not super necessary. We're going to take the oil cap off. Taking the oil cap off will allow the oil to flow freely throughout the motor. Whenever it drains out the bottom with that cap there, it'll basically create a vacuum to where it sucks some of it back in. We're then going to take our 13mm and hit both these bolts here. That is one of the plugs and the second plug. These are both oil drains. As you can see here, the one towards the front of the motor has an oil filter screen. Set that to the side for now. Let the oil finish draining. If you have a skid plate, you can stick your funnel underneath here. This is going to be a lifesaver for you. Super nice to have, but something that's not super necessary. Once you think you have all the oil drained out, lean the bike back and forth. Don't have to do it too excessively, but I like to do it just a couple times. We are now going to take our brake clean, grab the oil filter screen with a pair of needle nose or any type of pliers, and we're just going to clean this out. Spray inside. Do the same for this magnet at the end of your oil drain plug. Inspect your O-ring around the bigger oil drain plug. While that is finishing to drip, we will move on to our oil filter, which is on the same side, and you've got 2 bolts for that here. Pull the cap off with your needle nose or by hand if you can get it. Inspect the O-ring here as well. We're going to take our needle nose and we're going to go ahead and grab this filter. You can take a rag and lightly clean out inside here. It's not too big of a deal. Is what I like to do with the new filter is just go and pour a little bit of oil inside here. not run it down the side. You're gonna see that's gonna start filling up at the bottom there. It doesn't matter if it runs down the side, I just didn't want it getting all over the place. And we're gonna go ahead and put that in the same way that it came out. The side that you fill up goes towards the inside. And we're gonna go ahead and put this back on. I believe the torque spec on these are 7 Newton meters. Moving back down to the bottom caps, inspect this washer. You can flip these over. I'm sure if you ask a lot of people, they will tell you not to do this, but I'm not a lot of people. Putting this filter back in, you are going to want a pair of needle nose, and make sure you hang on to this. You will know whenever this goes in right or wrong. I have lost this back in the motor before, and it will roll around if you don't get it centered onto where it sits. It's pretty easy to tell where it sits. Just don't be in a hurry. Once you do it a few times, you'll get it down. Check your torque sheet to know how much these will torque to. If you do it by hand, these don't need to be super tight. Oil with an oil filter change on this 500 EXC is going to be 1.5 quarts or 1.5 liters. This is what KTM recommends, and this is the only thing I have ran inside this bike. I go ahead and put this in, and while I'm filling this up, we're going to move on to something else. Right, next we are going to move on to the air filter, and I'm going to show you how to clean it. You can change it. If you get tired of paying $20 or $30 for an air filter, this may be an option for you. I try to do this about every other oil change, whether it needs it or not. Otherwise, I kind of just go off of whenever it needs done. What you're going to need for this is some kind of bucket or an ice cream pail or cutout, something like I did. And you're gonna need some gasoline. Needs to be pure gasolina. This is gas straight from my KTM tank. Pop this cover off. You got these quick releases here. Pop the bottom tab out and pull it out. Next, we're gonna wanna inspect our air box. Mine is pretty clean. I just did this not too long ago. As you can tell, clean. Now is what I'm gonna do. Pop these tabs off. I'm gonna figure out the whole thing, loosen it up. As you can tell, air filter ain't too dirty at all. But this is a good idea. We're gonna work our way around that. Pop that one out. And the filter is loose. Set the cage over there. We're gonna take our filter, ball it up, and dip it into our gasoline. And repeat the process. Now fold it the other way, and now we're gonna let it dry. Once it's dry, we're gonna put the cage back on. I do recommend you picking up some air filter oil and then just coat the whole thing in air filter oil. We're gonna put it back in, sliding top up first, and put the cover back on. We're done. Next few shots, we're coming outside so I can do this video continuously. I'm gonna do several things on my list, and we're gonna go over what I'm about to show you. I'm gonna give you some tips. Thank you, Harley Rider. I'm gonna give you some tips and some things that might help you make your life a little bit easier whenever you have to come across these things on your motorcycle. First, we're gonna go to the spark plug. KTM makes this really easy while it's on the side of the head here. We're gonna pull the spark plug cap off, and your spark plug is right there. A lot of people do this with a spark plug socket. I will just use a 9/16 socket, and that is because it will still reach around the spark plug, and it allows me to get inside the spark plug cylinder a little bit easier rather than a spark plug socket, which is normally pretty thick. Loosen it up and you can pull it out. Whenever you put it back in, don't crank down on it, just snug it up. I try to replace my spark plug about every 50 hours along with the valve check. You can stretch these out longer. That is totally on you as the rider. We're gonna move on to the brake pads. Brake pads are super easy to check. You don't even need to take the caliper off to check these. All you need to do is see that there is still plenty of life on both the inner and the outer. And as you can tell there, I am good for a while on rear brake pads. Front brake pads are a little bit harder to see. A little bit of a tip is on the left side, you can come over here and see that one really well. On the outer one, you are better off looking straight down the bike like this. And you can tell that I am probably due for some brake pads before long, but it will last me through Colorado. Next up, we're gonna check the coolant. You do not need your tank off for this, although it does make it a lot easier. To check the coolant, make sure your bike is cool. Put your hand on the radiator. Cannot hold your hand on here. It is too hot to pull this cap off. All we're gonna do, turn the cap all the way till it's loose enough, pull it off. I'm not sure if you can tell or not, but there is coolant in there, so we're good. If you're going to swap your coolant for something else, like I will eventually do, but I am obviously still full on coolant, I'm gonna run this through the bike. All you need to do to flush your coolant system, have that cap off, and this is your drain plug right here. This is your water pump, and at the bottom of your water pump, you pull this bolt out and coolant will drain out of here. Make sure you have that cap off. Once you get all the coolant drained, you're gonna wanna fill the system with distilled water, run the bike for like 5 minutes, let it cool down, and repeat the process of draining it, and that is flushing your system. You can now put in whatever type of coolant you want into the top of the radiator cap. Alright, so we're going to move on to a valve check. This is the main thing that everybody's worried about. You got to do it every 50 hours, and it's miserable. Like, who wants to check their valves? I honestly hate checking my valves. The KTM 500 makes this so easy. So easy. The valve cover is angled to where it is super easy to check the valves. To do this valve check, we're going to need an 8mm to lock top dead center. We are going to need a 10mm to get the valve cover head bolts off, and we are going to need feeler gauges. Now, I promise this isn't as big of a deal as everybody makes it out to be. It's honestly super easy. Don't be scared of it. Don't take it to your dealer. First thing first, take the spark plug cap off. Just get it out of the way. We're going to go ahead and grab our 10mm, break these bolts loose. Valve cover is off. Gasket still looks pretty good, so we're good there. And now I'm going to put the bike into 6th gear. That way I can find top dead center. And as you can see, there's a dot right there. That is the dot that I'm looking to line up at the very top. Take some finessing to do it with the wheel, but as all I did was rotate the wheel back and forth. To lock it into top dead center, we're going to come to the foot brake side and remove this copper washer right here. Take that bolt out, put it right back in without the copper washer. That will keep the dot from moving. So next I got my feeler gauges, and I've got the valve cover off. There's going to be a valve here, and behind it, same with this side, one here and one here. Towards the front of the bike is going to be the exhaust, and the back is going to be the intake. I'm going to go ahead and put the specs on screen now, but I've got my feeler gauges. I'm going to start out with the 0.10, and we're going to put it directly into the valve. 0.10 feels pretty good. My next step is a 0.13, and that feels pretty good with the drag, so I'm going to say that's good. It's somewhere between a 0.10 and a 0.13. That one is within spec. That's about the same way. Feels just like the first one did, and they're both within spec. Slightly larger than the intake side, so I'm going to start out with my 0.13. Oh, I've got 2 of them here. I was wondering why that was so hard to go in. 0.15 feels kind of loose, so there's no point in going to the 13. So the 0.20 has quite a bit of drag, which is obviously out of spec, but it's the closest one that I've got. But the 0.15 is a little bit. Basically, off of how it feels, I'm going to say that it's, right now I don't need to worry about it, but it is something that I really need to check within the next 50 hours. Both intake and both exhaust valves were in spec, so we're going to go ahead and put everything back together. Make sure you put this breather hose back on, and that is basically it. We're gonna go ahead and put this thing back together. As far as my tires go, I'm not gonna be able to install these today. My front did not show up like expected. Throw that into another video. Well, I believe that's gonna wrap everything up. I really hope that I'm not forgetting anything. I tried to record some third-person shots of this previously. Unfortunately, my phone just isn't cutting it. And that's what I did the entire Colorado series previously, was use my phone, and it was honestly way too much of a pain in the ass. So I don't know, do you guys think I should step up to the next level and really get a camera? I'm really thinking about it, and by the time this video is up, which should be the same day as I'm recording this, I might already have the camera ordered. If there happen to be any other maintenance that I forgot in this video, be sure to message me and I will make a separate video for that. I can throw it in a different video. I'm gonna finish putting this thing back together. Thank you guys for watching. Stay twisting grips, and I'll see you on the flip side. Peace!